Here's another principle that I want to bring up, and this is thinking 2 steps ahead. Thinking 2 steps ahead is incredible because what it does, it gives you a foresight into the future. And this quote is incredible. I loved it. It says basically, planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now in order to achieve those goals. And it is really, really powerful. And this is going to lead me to like the main story that I wanted to share with you guys. You know, my father-in-law, as you guys know, is very sick. And typically he's the kind of guy that when something needs to get done in the house, you call him because he knows how to do everything. You don't call Rick to fix anything because chances are it'll get worse. And that's just the reality. So this weekend, my brother-in-law was going to build a dock, and his existing dock was, needless to say, was falling apart. And so, of course, my wife decided to volunteer my incredible skills to contribute to this really incredible project. So when I first got there this Saturday morning, this past Saturday morning, I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing, guys. I've got no skills, no knowledge. I literally walk in and I just barely finished my cup of coffee, and I see this pile of these like 12-foot poles that are on the ground. There's like 28 of them. And I'm looking at them and I'm going, wow, that's a lot of wood. And I look down this hallway and probably about 500 feet out there towards the lake. So it's in the front of the house. I'm thinking, gee, I wonder who's going to move all this wood all the way by the lake, because the lake's the other way. Yeah. Guess who got stuck lifting all that? Every pole was 145 pounds, 12 feet long. So how about super awkward? So needless to say, half my morning was literally lifting 145-pound poles and carrying them all the way to the front, dropping them. And so what I realized very quickly is, dude, dead weight is heavy. And awkward weight even worse, because it's 12 feet, you know, like you're trying to drag it. I was trying to find every possible way to do it without hurting my back. And so anyway, long story short, as I started, they entrusted me with the grunt work because they knew as they're talking, okay, we're going to do this, and we got to go 6 by this and that. And they were talking Chinese. I had no idea what they were doing, right? But what I started realizing is, well, listen, now that I'm almost done with this project and I'm moving the logs, these monster things over here by the lake, I'm seeing that, you know, I could probably do some additional work and help them out real quick while they're doing all the strategic stuff, you know, the measuring and the planning, you know, to make this dock go out because it's 75 feet out in the water. So I'm like, you know, I've got the wood, it's already here. So, but I'm seeing that these guys are measuring. So I said, hey, what can I do now? And so I noticed that they had this thing where you start digging. And so I said, just mark where you want this and I'll just start digging. And so it was great jokes about being a Puerto Rican Mexican and doing the work as they were planning, you know, so here I'm digging, right? And so little by little, what started happening is as I started learning what they were doing, I started thinking ahead. What else are they going to need so that I can support them so they can do the technical work? Because I've got none of those skills. And so what was funny is that by the time we got towards the end of the day, okay, now mind you, we have taken these poles. I learned how to drive them into the ground without digging, by the way, which was awesome. You guys ever seen those 10-foot poles that are like a pipe and it's connected to the lake? So it sucks the water out. And so you literally let the water, once you set it, you let the water and you start shoving the stick down there on the water with the pressure. And literally the water starts digging the hole for you. And then you're drilling, you know, some things to the actual pole so that you can stand on it and try to pull it down all the way. And I literally saw some of these 12-foot poles drop by 4 feet is what was left. So just think about how deep that went. And so one by one, we did this. And we started setting the frame. And by the time I got done, they actually trusted me with power tools. Right? And it was, I'm sitting here just getting everything done. And my wife's like, wow, I didn't know you could do this. I'm like, I didn't either. But what started happening is because I started contributing, it first was a joke. Like, well, Rick's here. Rick's not going to do much because he doesn't know what he's doing, right? So I went from picking up super heavy logs to digging to then anticipating, oh, wait a minute. So what is that tool called? Okay, great. So I know he needs some screws because I know he's about to do this. And so I was just helping them. And before you knew it, they were like, hey, why don't you drill this real quick? And so I'm like, okay. So I drill it. Oh, he actually knows how to do that. And so it was really cool to see. So I got a really cool lesson this weekend on stewardship, which is I started being faithful with the stuff that nobody wants to do. And by the time we were done, I was doing the stuff that they were doing. And it was incredible that they were just trusting me with this, because I'm like, hey, if this falls apart, I'm sorry. But it was such a great experience for me. And so I really want to really challenge you. I don't care if you're doing big things or little things. As you plan, think ahead. What I learned on Saturday was, if I cannot lead on this project because I don't have the knowledge or experience or capability, what I can do is I can think about how to make their life easier. And if, as I learn what they're doing, I can then take one step ahead of them. So I know this is their process the last 4 times. So I know that in the next one, they're probably going to do the same thing, which means they need screws, they need this, they need that. And so I would go and get it before they needed it. So by the time they said, hey, I need to get, I'm like, here you go. Right. And so what was that? That means that I was thinking ahead. I was contributing to the long-term vision. And as I was faithful, they started giving me more responsibilities. And those responsibilities, by the way, got a lot easier than the grunt work I was doing. I was literally to a point where I was literally going down underwater almost to take these poles and drive them deep into the ground. And it was so cool to be a part of a project that was like that, after the fact, of course, and a bunch of Advils. But the point I want to say is, guys, as you plan, think ahead. Don't just think about today, think ahead. And if assisting someone else, anticipate what they're going to need, because that is the most valuable tool that you can bring to the table. It's okay if you don't know everything. It's okay. But you know what? You can still bring value to the table, even if you don't have the experience, by stepping in and committing 100%. You see, just like we did with the doc, I could have easily said, this sucks. I don't want to learn any of this crap. And I would have just done there or stood by the shade like some people I saw, right? And just, I got a phone call, as we would joke, right? But the reality is I wanted to contribute and I wanted to be an asset. And because I was able to do that, and as I started stepping ahead, I actually started learning, and I'm watching what they're doing. So by the time they gave me the opportunity, I knew exactly what to do. I've seen them do it 10 times. I knew what tools they needed because I was the one handing it to them at that time. Does that make sense? And so just because you're not running lead on a project doesn't mean that you can't contribute. The key is humble yourself, commit, and start thinking ahead of how you can help make everybody's life easier. And if you do that, trust me, you'll be the one building the dock at the end. And it was really cool to be a part of that. The next piece I want to bring up is aim to complete today what you will need tomorrow. I want to say that again. Aim to complete today what you will need tomorrow. One of the key things that I learned as I was building this dock is that there were 2 ways of doing it. One way was to build a frame and take those pilings and put them in there and just keep going as far as I could go. Or 2, what we could do is once we got to 12 feet, then while they're starting to put the pilings on the rest of the frame, I can start literally screwing on the actual steps. Right? Why? So that the next time they need a piling, we'll just drag it through here instead of trying to go all the way by the water, lifting it up over our heads. And so we literally started building the steps that we needed to make it easier for ourselves as we went forward. And so in the same way, think about it like that for your life right now. If we have a goal and we have a project and you have a responsibility, then today, are you doing what you need to get done so that tomorrow you have those steps available to take you further? And that's the way that we should always be stepping forward. If you don't do that, what will happen is you're going to miss out, and you're always going to be working hard, not smart. And so here's a really powerful question that I think will put this all together. As you're thinking about stepping forward and thinking 2 steps ahead, am I installing the next steps that I will need to step on tomorrow in order to reach my goal? And look at each step that you're going to take as a ladder or as even a bridge to the other side. I don't care what, visual you want to create. The important thing is, are you putting the boards down today that you're going to step on tomorrow to reach that further distance? And if the answer is no, then what are you doing? And this is a great gut check to really challenge you, because if you want to be a good steward, that's what a steward does. But I'll take it even further. What a steward does when he's stepping forward, he's not just thinking about himself. He's preparing the steps that other people will take after him in order to reach the other side. And so if it's not for you, think of everybody else that will benefit from the boards you install today, tomorrow. And that should be the important piece if you want to be a good steward in order to take what you do to the next level.